A Peter Rabbit Tale. Good night, Peter. It was night time, and the silvery moon was shining over the wood. Inside a warm, cosy burrow, 4 little bunnies were tucked up in bed. Their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. Peter had slept in this room for a long time. He shared it with his 3 playful sisters. It was a bit of a squash. Mrs. Rabbit thought it was time for Peter to sleep in a room of his own. Peter was not sure about this, because he would be all alone. There would be no Flopsy to mark his handstands out of 10. There would be no Mopsy to share stories with. There would be no Cottontail to cuddle up with. One sunny morning, Mrs. Rabbit set to work making a cosy little room for Peter. "This is just the place for you, Peter," she said. "A lovely, snuggly spot. Perfect for a growing bunny." As Peter watched, Mrs. Rabbit bustled about, dusting and polishing, washing and wiping, stitching and sweeping. Finally, Peter's new room was finished, and it was really very lovely. There was plenty of space for everything, even his feet, which felt nice and toasty. Peter had only just closed his eyes when, "Whoo!" "What is that noise?" said Peter, sitting up in bed. The noise echoed around his big, lonely room. Peter was never going to be able to sleep now. Peter sprang out of his bed and straight back to where his sisters were. "There's no room in this bed," muttered Flopsy. "Your feet are too cold," said Mopsy, pulling the blankets tighter around her. "You can share with me," whispered Cottontail kindly, but there really wasn't enough space for Peter. In the morning, Peter was very tired indeed, and very glum. He felt a little bit in-betweenish. "I'm too big for my old room," he explained to Mrs. Rabbit sadly, "and too small for my new room." "Anything new feels funny to start with," she told him, "but you'll soon feel just right." All day Mrs. Rabbit stitched and stitched. She wouldn't tell any of the bunnies what she was making. That evening the bunnies ate a supper of bread, milk, and blackberries beside the fire before bed. Then Mrs. Rabbit gave Peter a new snuggly toy. "This'll help you feel better," she said. Later, with his sisters fast asleep, Mrs. Rabbit took Peter's hand. "Time for bed," she whispered, gently leading him to his new room. Peter's toy felt cozy, and as Mrs. Rabbit tucked him up, as she'd always done, so did his new room. Peter knew he was in the new room, but now it felt more cozy, more peaceful. There was enough space to play, and Peter felt just right. He snuggled down in his bed and fell fast asleep. "Sweet dreams, Peter," whispered Mrs. Rabbit.